Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're gonna make something really special because it's gonna be out of elastic fabric, and elastic fabrics and I are not the bestest of friends, I would say. So it was a really fun challenge for me actually to make this garment, and it worked out fine, to be honest. Like, I had my doubts, but it worked out fine and I'm so happy how it turned out. Today we're gonna make a elegant backless dress. It's going to be very tightly fitted, and it's going to have this beautiful low rise back with these strings holding everything together, and it turned out so nicely. I'm really happy with it. And on top of that, we're actually going to make one version that is one color and then another version that has these panels on the front going on. And of course, for the pattern you're gonna get both versions, or you're gonna get one pattern with both versions basically drawn into, because you can just use the whole piece as it is, or you can split it up in the different pattern pieces that they are, but I will be going more into detail in the video. So let's just jump right into it. So the first thing that I actually need to do is drape the dress. I decided to drape this one just because I think it's easy enough to drape, and I actually don't want to do pattern making, to be honest, especially since this is an elastic dress. It's a knitted dress, and I don't really like making patterns for knitted things on the table. I'd rather like see it directly on the dress form, so I can do everything right then and there without having to like put down on the table, cut out a fabric, put on the dress form, adjust if needed, and so on and so forth. So I'm actually going to start draping this dress now. And if the dress is going to be made out of an elastic fabric, you obviously want to drape with an elastic fabric as well. That is a common rule throughout all draping experiences. Always use a fabric as close to your fashion fabric as possible, and this time obviously it needs to be elastic. Not that it particularly needs to be elastic. I think the dress itself doesn't really need the elasticity, but I think it would be a fun challenge as I don't really do elastic fabrics that often. So let's get started. I just realized that I do not have a draping fabric made out of jersey, so I have to kind of use my fashion fabric, or I'll resort to using non-elastic fabric. I'm not sure what I should do, because I think I'm gonna use non-elastic fabric for this one, as I don't think that the dress needs the elasticity, but I'm gonna make it out of an elastic fabric in the end. Not ideal, but I can't do anything right now, so. And obviously I don't want to drape in my fashion fabric, as there might be something wrong. I'm just ruining a good bunch of fabric, so I'll use my draping fabric. Do not do that if you have another option. So I think what I'm actually gonna do now is to take this off. I have another type of like knitted fabric that I can use, which I'm like not using for my collection, which is white, which I can use for a mock-up in the hopes of it being actually a good looking dress. So I can also wear that. And I think I'm just gonna use that like for this purpose. I'm gonna take this off now, like clean everything up, make a pattern out of it, and then make it out of that white fabric that I have before I'm actually drawing in all of the dividing lines right here, so that I have like a full version, I guess, of this to see how it goes, also to put the straps in and stuff, the placements, whatever. And then I'm gonna go ahead and actually make it out of the fabric that I just selected for this with the triangular shape. I haven't even showed you the mock-up. I'm just like, at the time of recording this, I like literally just posted on Instagram about this project and about the design that I chose and so on. So to me, it's like, yeah, I already told you just now, but obviously I haven't mentioned it in the video yet. So I have these inspiration pics, which are so beautiful. This one, for example, is Jacquemus. And this one here is Zara, and so on and so forth. They look so good. And I just wanted to make a backless, strapped up, casual, but elegant summer dress, I guess. And I came up with this design here. I asked you on Instagram which color combination you prefer. Actually, this one is the one that I make and that you also voted for. And this is the design that I want to put in the front. So these are the shapes that I'm going to put in. And that's what I was talking about before. I want to make a complete dress first before actually putting all of the dividing seams in, just in order to see the shape before like putting too much work into it, basically. So I'm going to use that white fabric that I still have for a second mock-up, I guess, out of actual knitted fabric. And then once that is done and it looks good and so on, I'm actually going to put all of these dividing lines in and make a new pattern out of the whole dress and use that for the final dress. And I'm thinking about, in terms of making the pattern for you guys to download, I'm thinking about like giving you a pattern for the complete dress in one block, but then drawing in the dividing lines that you technically could just like cut apart. So you also have the pattern for the final version if you like to make, you know, that with the triangles and stuff. I think that's the best option, so you can choose whichever you'd like or you prefer. And yeah, so let's get going. Okay guys, so I just finished dress out of the sample fabric, and this is what it looks like, to be honest. Apart from this, which is just something that I have to take out of the center back, which is no big deal at all, it looks so cool. Like really. I think about making the slit, you know, at an angle so that it has to pop open, because I think this is a bit covered. I don't know. I think this looks a bit too covered, but just a tiny bit. Maybe like 6 centimeters in total or something. I don't know yet. You know, something like this. So it has to open up. We'll see. But the front looks really nice. I'm really happy about the front, and then also the back works out really well. So that's cool. Okay, so this is what the dress came out as. This is the back, a very dramatic back. I'm still wearing my bra, I'm sorry for that. But the only thing that I still want to change, because this is when I do this, it creates this weird fold here. So I want to actually put a loop here, make another turn, twist here again and come back and end in between the back piece and the second string. So like right here, so that when I do this, you know, it's pulled down. But apart from that, I think this is a really cute slip dress. And it's also good that I made this out of jersey, because I don't need darts here. I can just pull and it should be fine. I really like the front here. So this is really nice. I'm so happy that it worked out. Did not think that it would, because it's Jersey and Jersey and I don't really like each other. So as you can see right here, this is the dress, how it looks at the moment. I changed the back. As I said, I put another string in here, so I'm gonna have a loop up here so that it holds the shape better, because otherwise this would have just sprung open and that didn't really look good. So there's that. I also took out a little bit of roundness here, so it looks better and it lays better. Other than that, I think I can continue and draw in the dividing lines right here, so that in my final piece I have the color blocking going on, and that's what I'm gonna do right now. So I just went ahead and made the pattern, and I also printed it out to cut it out and also to show you what's up with this pattern, because this is a bit complicated. So as you can see right here, there are multiple lines on here, and this is basically a different pattern piece. So every time that there is a name in some sort of area, that means that this is a separate pattern piece. So you would need to find your line, whatever size you are, and then cut it out until you come to a corner that is obviously next to one piece with the indicator again, and then you cut that one out. So in total, you're gonna get 6 different pieces right here, 3 in the base color, 2 in the second color, and 1 in the third color. This is obviously totally optional. I will provide this pattern to you with the dress as the pieced dress, so this, and then also one option in a different PDF, so you can choose which one you would like to print out without all the dividing lines in here, so one unicolored dress version, if you will. So you can choose which one. You get both when you get this pattern, and I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this out really quickly, and then I'm gonna make the final version with all of these blocks in different colors. So I just have here the first stripe and then the base color on the one side where the triangle is, and this is a dart right here. And I just showed you in the video, that's a spot where you have to be very careful, because the dart seam goes right through that corner of the based colored triangle piece on the side, which you must not forget. This is attached on here originally, and you can see that the seam of the dart goes right through it. And you will have to actually cut this off of here and then you can just tape it on here, which is something you just have to do manually, but just make sure to not forget this corner. If you have it up here and you make it out of this fabric right here, so out of the color 2, it's also not a big of a deal, but you cannot forget it, because if you don't have this corner right here, this is going to be looking really, really weird, and we don't want that, so. So I cut everything out now, and actually I wanted to show you the easiest way of putting everything together, because there is one way you can do it without having to sew any corners, which is really nice. And I went ahead and actually named the seams accordingly. So seam 1 you sew first, then seam 2, seam 3, and so on. So this right here is the upper right side, and this is the lower left side. Here, this piece here gets sewn into. And you can see right there, seam 1, seam 1. So we're gonna put together these 2 seams first. This here is seam 3, so you do not want to put that as of right now together, because first thing, you actually have to put this one down here together, so the other one in this color, because then you have one piece right here and one piece right here. Those all end at the same seam right here. You can put those together and then continue on. So first thing that we're gonna do, put these seams together. So rule of thumb, if you have a dividing seam in your garment and it's somewhere in the front or wherever you can basically see it, always iron it up, even though that might seem a bit odd. But in doing so, you can actually hide the seam better, because you're not gonna go and look into the seam. So as I just did it right here, this is up and this is down. This is where the seam faces, and the seam allowance faces up. So you're not gonna look into the seam, which is rule of thumb, something you should always do. So anyways, now that we've done this, we're gonna put this aside and we're gonna use these 2 pieces. This is the left side, and then this is the other strap in the color 2. And we're gonna put these pieces together, like so. And the same thing here, you want to iron your seam allowance up. And I'm just using this board at the moment because it's more practical for me, as I am still using my cutting table, sort of, to align everything and stuff. Obviously, you can do that on a normal ironing table. And this is what it looks like. Next thing, we're actually gonna put this together. And this is seam 3. And then we're gonna continue with the 3rd color. We have a dart that still needs to go in here, which we can do right now. Next seam is this one down here. You just grab your 3rd color and you just sew this on. Even though this fabric here really wants to stay down, we're still gonna iron it up. And while I am ironing, I'm not really stretching the fabric or anything. I just want to make sure that it's laying spread apart, you know, so that I'm not like ironing a fold in it. You gotta be careful because once you stretch it and you iron over it, you kind of iron the stretch into the fabric, and you don't want to do that because that distorts the fabric and the fit. And the last seam is the big one on the bottom, and then the front piece is done. So actually, there is a slit right here, and I already put an amount of allowance basically into here so that this all okay, scrap that. It's in this seam here. And I'm getting frustrated now. So I am going to have to undo everything, which I'm not gonna do, obviously. I'm just gonna put these back together, iron everything, and then just start a slit here and just not have the 3 centimeters overlap here because it's not that important. Okay, never mind. So I have this elastic right here, which is 1 centimeter thick, and it's like kind of glossy on one side, shining on one side, and then matte on the other side. And I actually want to go ahead and fold it into half and then sew along it to make a really, really small string, and that's what I'm going to use for the back. So on my pattern, there will be the numbers for a non-elastic string, but you can obviously use whatever you want. Just like take, let's say, 3 centimeters out of the overall length, and it should be fine to use with an elastic. So for the loop in the back where the string is going to loop through, that one piece that I added later on, there's actually like this really, really tiny pattern piece that you need to cut out. It's like 3 by 2 centimeters or something like that. It's in the pattern. I don't remember the measurements, but it's this really tiny thing that you might forget, so this is why I'm pointing it out. I just folded 0.5 millimeters on both sides up of the longer side and then just ironed it down. It didn't really hold, and I didn't really like it how flimsy it was, so I just used some hem tape and basically glued it together, and then also folded it again to make a loop. And this is gonna get sewn into the seam on both sides of the front piece. So while I was sewing, I already told you that I ran into this small problem of me forgetting that I have this facing already attached to my pattern, but you can see it right here. I actually made this seam here to be the overlap for the slit. As you can see, it would have been perfect. Totally forgot that, so I had to make do now. As this is stretchy fabric, it's not too big of a deal. Obviously, you should make it correct though, because it will slightly distort the dress, as there is 3 centimeters of material basically missing on one side now. But it's fine, it's fine. This is what it looks like, and then the slit down here will be made so that this folds to the inside where the seam stops, and then it goes nicely onto the hem down here, and you can, as I did it with the other one, do a nice little fold like this to hide this seam right here on the front side, which I will be doing as well. But before we do all of that, there are a few seams that we need to fix into place, which is the side seam and also the top edge right there. And I just want to make it like I did in my tryout. So basically I'm just gonna fold it by 1 centimeter and then sew at 5 millimeters on top of this. So this is gonna fix all of my straps securely into place because they are fixed twice once onto the seam allowance and then another time onto the overall garment when I top stitch it. And then it should look really, really nicely. And after that, we're actually gonna feed this through the tunnel and like do the whole thing in the back. So let's do that. And that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I am so in love with the dress. I'm going to show you a few clips of me wearing it in just a second. Before we go into that though, I just quickly wanted to ask you to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell to get notified whenever I post. I post on Sundays, but with the notification bell, you will get notified by YouTube itself. So that's a great way to actually support me. And then of course, down in the description, there will be a link to the pattern that you can get if you'd like, and to my Etsy store in general if you're interested in more patterns, or also my collection, because I recently launched my own collection that I am making to order. So whenever you place an order, I will be making it just for you, which is a great way, of course, to support me as well. And then also, if you haven't already, please follow me on Instagram or all my socials. My handle is Thisiskachi on every social that I have. Links will also be down in the description below. I am sharing lots of behind the scenes, and of course, as I moved recently, a lot of DIYs and small bits and pieces that I am doing in my new apartment to decorate it and make everything a little bit more homey. So if you're interested in that, please check out my socials. They are linked down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you next Sunday. Bye guys!